Hey everyone, it's Greg Jones for Motorcycle and Powersports News, and we are back with another episode of Dealer Dialogue. Today I'm joined by David Diaz. He's the general manager of Irv Seaver Motorcycles. David, thanks so much for being here with us.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
Yeah. So I'm sure many folks watching are familiar or have been familiar with Irv Seaver and the dealership for a long time as it has been around for a while, but we certainly don't want to mistake having some history as being, old-fashioned because you guys are doing a lot of things, uh, ahead of the curve of probably many others out there, and that's some of what we'll get into. But David, I wanted to start just a little bit on your background and how you got into this industry and came to Irv Seaver.
Oh, gosh, it's a long story. I'll try to be brief. Of all things, I was running a QC test lab for American Racing Wheels, and I got a call from Vance and Hines Performance Center out of Torrance. They happened to be doing tire testing for 4 different manufacturers, and I started doing tire testing back in, the mid 80s, which turned into a stint for about 10 years working with Dunlop as a trackside tire service provider, all the way up to MotoGP level. It was a lot of fun. And in that, it's kind of turned into an opportunity here at Irv Seaver's 33 years ago, where we joined this team, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful place to work. And that's kind of the shortest version. I could talk for an hour, but I'll try not to.
Certainly, certainly. No, like you said, you've been in this industry for a while, so I'm sure you could go on with that type of history. But
Sure.
so, David, tell us a little bit about the dealership today, because again, like I mentioned, it has been around for a long time, and gone through a couple different iterations of the dealership.
Yeah.
So, let us know what's kind of been going on recently.
Well, I'll go back in time. Back in 1910, 1911, there's a gentleman named Judd Carricker, and Mr. Crowell owned a sporting goods shop and bicycle shop right here in the city of Orange in the Orange Plaza. And we were selling Pope and Henderson motorcycles at the time, and eventually became the West Coast Indian Race Shop. And in some point in the mid 50s or so, Irv Seaver came onto the scene from the Midwest and always wanted to be an Indian dealer. So he knocked on Judd's door and talked to him, and convinced him to sell him the dealership. And at that time, we were in a little Kwanzaa hut right on Main Street, kind of a false front building with that rounded roof type of building behind it. And eminent domain kicked us out for the completion of the Main Place Mall in Santa Ana. So Irv bought the property right down the street, right on the corner of the 5 freeway and Main Street. At the time, the 5 freeway was only 2 lanes going in each direction with a big ice plant island. And he built the most modern motorcycle facility in North America. And I think he completed that in around 1958, I believe.
Okay.
At which time our current owner, Mr. Evan Bell, took a summer job in 1959. And he is a third and current owner of this building or business. And we've been in continuous operation for well over 100 years. It's wonderful to celebrate BMW's 100th anniversary coming up. In fact, September 28th is the actual 100th for them. But
Yeah.
we kind of had to say, well, we had ours back in 2011, so that was kind of fun. But Evan Bell is just an amazing person. He's just a great bike builder. He's restored motorcycles for all of his time here, and to the point where our BMW R32 has been asked to travel with the Guggenheim Museum exhibit. It's been borrowed by BMW for other events, and Evan probably has, I want to say 30 perfectly restored BMW motorcycles from 1923 to current. And he's just a firecracker. I often say the hardest thing I have to do is keep up with an 85-year-old guy. He's just amazing. In fact, we spent
Yeah.
all day yesterday out at the Huntington Beach uh, police rodeo, all day in the sun yesterday, having a great time. And he wanted to stay there longer.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But
awesome.
it's an amazing place to work. We have about 14, 15 employees.
Okay.
And I'm not the oldest guy here, if you can imagine. We've got a technician, Mr. Tom Tollhall, has worked here 45 years as a line
Wow.
technician.
Wow.
Arturo Rosales, we're quite proud of. He joined about 2 weeks after I did, 33 years ago. And it's a wonderful story I love to retell is we needed help. And here in Southern California, being so close to our southern border, there's a lot of opportunities to grab a day laborer to do an odd job or a day's work or a couple days work. And we did that with Arturo, and he's just an amazing person. And and our store owner Evan really saw the value in Arturo, and not only helped him get his green card with the job at our store, but also hired a lawyer and helped him become an American citizen.
Oh, wow.
Which, gosh, today I still get choked up over it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Arturo, when he was going through the process of becoming a citizen, he would quiz us in the back about our American history and often knew it better than we did. So that's something we're very, very proud of. Very, very diverse staff. And that kind of brings you up to current times, which I think in 2012 we had to remodel. We added 5,000 square foot two-story building for our service department, but we needed a place to move in the meantime. So Evan Bell bought the property across the street that had a service repair shop that used to be a parts store. And so the parts store was a 4,000 square foot building with all this glass frontage facing Catella Avenue, which is a 6-lane east and westbound thoroughfare, and it's the busiest road in Orange County, that we were not using very well as a very expensive warehouse to store our motorcycles.
Mhm.
And we're looking at that going, gosh, there's something we should do with this building that's better than just storing bikes. And at the time, BMW brought out the R18 lineup, and I think we were in oh gosh, I can't think of the little island off of Italy. At a big dealer
Sicily,
meeting. Pardon?
Sicily, or some.
No, Sardinia.
Okay.
Sardinia for a new model release, and they showed us clay models of the R18, and we're talking to BMW people, and briefly mentioned we had this warehouse that we want to convert to a showroom, and they said, well, hey, we're looking to create a heritage space, if you will, and would you be willing to let us assist you with a remodel? And they did. BMW's vision is gosh, admittedly so much better than ours, and if left to our own devices, we never would have created the space that we have with the guidance and assistance of BMW Motorrad in Germany, as well as the USA dealer development team. And they created some beautiful artist renderings of just a really cool showroom. And we handed those pictures to our contractor, and well, he put them on the wall and created the space. I mean, darn near nailed it.
Yeah.
Probably 98% of that rendering is over there with some slight modifications. And it just really turned into a beautiful 4,000 square foot event center, heritage showroom. We've got a live band stage in there with a sound mixing board, full
Yeah.
light system, a big 13-foot wide movie screen that drops down out of the stage, 6 microphones. So we could have a presentation of 6 people up there. Also off to the side is a big roll-up door that's hidden down this hallway behind my sales manager's office. we could do a new model release and ride a new bike from outside onto the stage.
That's cool.
And we've had everything from Paul Phillips sharing his story of being a photographer at the Isle of Man TT races, to punk bands, to jazz bands, acoustic bands, movie presentations for the Oregon Backcountry Discovery route. It's really proven to be an amazingly versatile space. And part of that is because everything that's in there has wheels. So, it's full of motorcycles. So, gosh, if we want to fill it up with 150 people with seats and all that and have a big presentation, we can do that.
Yeah.
So what happened next is BMW really wanted it to be a coffee bar. Their idea was a point of experience versus the sterile showroom environment that you often run into that's more corporate looking. They wanted to create some cool.
Yeah.
And the coffee shop, motorcycles, music is just kind of a natural. And we looked into it in the, of course, California Health Department. They're wonderful people, in case any of you are listening. And it was quite a hurdle. And we told BMW, you know what? We created this beautiful rusty metal bar and with the steel top, and it just looked really industrial looking. And but to create it to be health department approved, we just thought it was too much. We said, you know what, we'll just give away free coffee. What a beautiful space. Well, BMW came knocking a little bit later and said, hey, we really like the idea of a coffee shop. Could we take another look at it? And we did. We took an earnest look and realized that, yeah, we got to put floor sinks in. We got to put 3 compartment sinks in, hand wash sink, food prep tables, food prep sinks, all the stuff that goes with a real restaurant.
Yeah.
Because gosh darn it, if coffee is made from a bean, and a bean is a food, and so here comes the health department. So again, with BMW's vision and their design, we created a full retail kitchen, coffee shop, restaurant over there, and has since hired a wonderful guy, Chef Eric Stanley. Eric, he's the real thing. He's been a chef for 22 years. He's owned his own restaurant in Massachusetts, and even worked with the likes of Gordon Ramsay for a few years. So
Wow.
He's an amazing chef, and we're fortunate to have him. And in fact, we basically provided a space, wound him up, and pushed him that way. And he's created now what we call the Flat Track Cafe.
Okay.
It's kind of a take on our old flat track teams from the 60s and 70s that we were racing at Ascot. And so we've got a coffee shop, we've got a restaurant, we've got a heritage showroom with a live band and a patio out front. We've been doing bike nights all through the summer, and it's just exploding into an amazing space. So I hope I didn't talk too long. You asked one question and I just took off. So anyway, I'll hand the baton back to you. Go ahead, you can talk.
Yeah, no, and David, I appreciate that. I mean, when you got
Yes,
all those different things going on, that's new and exciting. I'm glad that you have the enthusiasm and want to share all that stuff. That's what it's all about. But yeah, you did mention a number of good things that we'll dive back into. Starting with the space itself, in total, how much space does the dealership have in terms of square footage?
Well, we have 2 showrooms, 2 buildings, and although they're separated by a small side street, they were built by the same contractor back in the early 70s, so they look identical. They have the same porticos out front. They're sister buildings facing Catella. So on our main showroom, we have, I think, almost 12,000 square feet, including upstairs museum space. Our shop is included within that, our traditional BMW showroom, and most of our apparel is in our main showroom here, and across the street is the 4,000 square foot heritage space, which is the largest heritage space in the world for BMW. We're quite proud of that, and out of that 4,000 square feet, the kitchen is quite small. Really about as long as it takes to put three sinks, a food prep sink, another sink, and it's not that wide. It's only about, gosh, I want to say 25 feet wide, maybe 10 feet into the showroom.
Okay.
And with that little space, Chef Eric has created weekly specials from blackened fish tacos to smash burgers, breakfast burritos. He's open from 8 a.m. till about 2 o'clock every day. And we get a nice breakfast and lunch rush for people dropping off their bikes for service. They can hang out over there, read a book, sit in the living room furniture we have over there, and just kind of get away from I wouldn't say pressure, but it's just a different, more comfortable feel
Sure.
in the heritage space to just kind of relax and enjoy the motorcycles around.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. Now, David, obviously you've talked a lot about BMW. You mentioned Indian was part of Irv Seaver history
Oh gosh, yeah.
way back in the day. Is BMW the only OEM you guys work with now, or who you guys have as OEMs?
Yeah, currently we are a single line BMW dealer, and we're
Okay.
proud to be that. They're wonderful partners, and it's been a great time working with them. Prior to moving from the Main Street building, we were Suzuki's oldest dealership. We were I think dealer number 11 in the day, and 1 through 10 dropped out back in the 60s. And we were, a dual line Suzuki and BMW dealer. But when we moved from Main Street, we would have been within the 10-mile radius of California franchise laws to Anaheim Suzuki at the time. And we were great friends with the owner there. And we politely bowed out and just let Suzuki go. Stayed with BMW, but gosh, we've been Triumph, Osa, Indian, Cushman, everything but I think Honda and Kawasaki. We were Yamaha back in the late 60s for a week or two until they got mad at us. But but we've been BSA, all kinds of brands over the years, and gratefully landed with BMW at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And David, how about moving to the PG&A side of things?
Mhm.
Who do you guys work with in terms of all your parts and garments and accessories and that type
Well,
of stuff?
we're happy to work with Shoei Helmet House. We're one of their biggest sellers here in Orange County. In fact, we've got a couple of executives from Shoei upstairs in a meeting right now that I'm not part of, but that's cool. We've got we're probably the largest climb dealer in North America as well, as far as just a single brick and mortar business. But yeah, your typical suppliers, Parts Unlimited, Western Powersports are our main ones. Tucker Rocky's going through a little bit of a dip we all know about, but they've historically rebounded, and we're happy to work with them when they come back online. Um, but yeah, as far as Alpine Star, Climb, Shoei, Arai, we've got all the main brands here in deep quantities. In fact, so many deep quantities is the discussion is stocking level comes up daily. So
Yeah. Very good.
yeah.
Now, David, back to BMW. Do you guys have a best-selling segment of motorcycles, or best-selling model in general?
Um, that changes as BMW releases new models and they
Sure.
become the hot one. But it's amazing how at one point, gosh, back in the late 90s, the R1200C was our best seller.
Mhm.
Go figure. But the traditional staple of the GSs, the RTs are always going to be up there as far
Yeah.
as top sellers. And of all things, the S1000RR oftentimes will nudge those bread and butter product lines out as our leading sellers.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, we do have a spike of the entry level models at the beginning of summer. The G310Rs, the G310GSs, the price points around $5,500, $6,000. A BMW has very good incentives for new riders. Well, they reimburse them for their safety training, and they also offer a $500 gift card to, or you can get $500 worth of BMW safety gear as a new rider if you
That's
purchase a
cool.
new BMW within 90 days of completing the safety training course.
Okay.
Additionally, we're proud to host classrooms every Saturday with the California Motorcycle Safety Program through Total Control. We have a noon class and a 5 o'clock class, which keeps us here till about 8:30 at night on Saturdays, just to see these new riders through their classes every Saturday. It's
Yeah.
it's it's wonderful to see the sport growing, and to see new riders coming through. That's what we really need.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And David, speaking of that, there's been a ton of ups and downs over the last few years for a number of reasons in this industry. For you guys recently, what's something that's been, the biggest challenge for the dealership?
Well, I think we can all agree a couple years ago when COVID-19 hit the deck, nobody really knew what to do, other than we knew that we all had to do our best to fight to maintain our business. And fortunately, as a motorcycle supplier, we sell new BMW police motorcycles
Hmm.
and service them. Automotive dealers or automotive services, like motorcycles fall under in California, were considered a necessary business.
Yeah.
So with that, we were able to maintain our doors to be open. Of course, we modified everything at the beginning. Gosh, we were placing sales contracts on a table outside the door and tell the guy to
Yeah.
sign stuff, and then he could walk away and we'd go pick him up. To
Yeah.
the point where we are now, where that's all behind us, thankfully. But
Right. Right.
the strangest thing, and we can't understand it. It was quite profitable during that time. A big part of it was due to product availability, and both good and bad. We had product to sell, and everybody's shelves were emptying out. So it was nice to have an ability to continue the business through the pandemic, and look back at the end of the year and go, "Gosh darn it, we had a pretty darn good year."
Right.
So it all worked out. But that was probably the biggest challenge. Of course, moving, remodels are always a bit of a challenge, but it's part of our business. If we didn't remodel and change, we'd still look like we were back in 1959, and that's a different feel. So it's just something that's part of the business. We have to power through, but we always appreciate the results at the end of that hard work of how everything is improved.
Yeah. No, that's well said. And like I said at the very beginning, don't mistake, the historical aspect of Irv Seaver for being old fashioned. You guys have done a nice job of changing with the times and updating the dealership
Certainly.
above and beyond what even might be considered modern. So let's dive deeper into that, because obviously I think that makes you guys a real destination type dealership, is having this flat track cafe and that new space where you guys can do live events and different things. So talk a little bit more about that in terms of how that's changed the customer experience, but also who might walk into the dealership, maybe not even being a rider. Maybe people show up
Yeah.
just to check it out, right?
I'm glad you asked that, because having a space that is really a point of experience is the way BMW calls it. it lets people's guard down. You walk in and you don't have this hard sell feel. It's kind of a, hey, look at the cool vintage bikes hanging from the offices, and these neat new R18s and the heritage lineup that we have over there. And it smells like bacon, which is always good.
Right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, once we opened up, gosh, the people that we buy coffee from across the street, we buy raw coffee beans and roast them in house. They come over for breakfast. The plumbing store next door comes over for breakfast. The crew from Smart and Final, where we buy a lot of our supplies in the morning, they'll send in a morning order of 10 breakfast burritos or something.
Yeah.
So it's this connection to the community that was unexpected, but certainly appreciated. The bike nights have certainly helped, because the bike nights often bring in conquest riders that aren't your typical BMW rider. In fact, they don't ride BMWs at all. So we want them to come in and check it out. And it's so rewarding to see them walk in and look around and go, wow, this is the neatest place I've ever seen. And so they get to tell their friends about it. And probably the most significant thing, TikTok. Oh my gosh, TikTok is just amazing, incredibly powerful. We had a temporary U.S. Postal lady come through for a couple of weeks, and evidently she's pretty good on TikTok. She has like 15,000 followers, and she, very, just casual post, and she came in and got a turkey club sandwich and sat in her little mail Jeep in the parking lot and did I don't know, a 40-second, 30-second TikTok video of how good the sandwich is and what a cool place it is and how nice Eric is and all that. So that happened on a Saturday afternoon. We're closed Sunday and Mondays. And Tuesday morning, Chef Eric had purchased enough food for the week.
Yeah.
And by 11 a.m., he was sold out. At 11 a.m., he had 2 sausage patties and a slice of cheese and nothing to put them on.
Wow.
That wonderful lady with the TikTok thing blew up our cafe to the point where we had to hire more people to run it. And it's really, really, really helped bring in people that would never, ever come in here. They're not riders. They come in with their phone in their hand and we go, TikTok? And they go, yeah. And it's just been so neat to see people coming in. Gosh, we had one Saturday, 2 soccer teams showed up after their soccer games. We had 54 people in there waiting for food. The food wait was over 45 minutes, and they said, "That's okay, we'll just hang out." So it's one of those be careful what you wish for, because
Sure.
we got it, and it's been hugely successful because of that one TikTok video that, by the way, had 450 comments. It had 40,000 views by Tuesday,
Yeah.
and I think 50,000 reactions, and it's just crazy numbers that you would never
Right.
expect.
Right.
But we're grateful for.
All because of a sandwich, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
all things. Yeah, he went through 24 pounds of turkey in 4 days.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
lot of sliced turkey.
Yeah. So, David, are there, you mentioned, it served as a nice space for customers to hang out in while their bike might be getting serviced, or, whatever the reason is that they're at the dealership. Are there perks for customers? Like, do they get a free coffee or anything while they're hanging out?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I was
No.
just curious. Yeah.
We got great prices. The neat thing is everybody looks at the menu and says, man, you guys don't charge enough. So that's so yeah, we're giving them a discount right off the top. How's that?
Yeah.
But we do appreciate first responders that come in, whether they're fire or nurses or a lot of police officers are here for services. Highway patrols come by, and we got regular customers that schedule their service. They know they're going to have lunch while they're here, and they bring a group of riders in with them. So
Yeah.
it's been just a wonderful space over there.
Yeah. And, obviously this is something that's still pretty new for you guys, but
Mhm.
because of the demand you guys have seen, with the restaurant, the coffee shop, has any of that translated to, new customers or
Oh,
additional
certainly.
sales? Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, especially because of the bike nights being held there and those conquest riders, because they're riders, they're buyers, they love the Alpine Star gears that we have. They love the climb gear that we have, the Shoei helmets, the Arai helmets. And in fact, this weekend we're doing a Shoei they call it the PFS system, I think, where we're actually custom fitting helmets for customers
Okay.
using different thickness pads and all that.
Yeah.
So those type of events bring in people that are not BMW riders, and then they're walking over and buying that helmet or jacket or glove that they never saw at their local store.
Yeah. That's great. And I assume it's the same thing when you guys have some of the live events in terms of bands or
Mhm.
speakers. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
David, something I wanted to circle back to that you mentioned at kind of the top of our conversation, is that including yourself and a couple other employees, you've had people there for decades.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, why that's been the case, especially
Well,
in an era where, you know,
it's
tough to get people to stay.
yeah, yeah. Well, it all comes from the top, and that top is Mr. Evan Bell and the Bell family. And Evan has always he's a very very smart businessman, and at the same time he allows people wherever they are in the organization to grow. He trusts them to make good decisions. Of course, he has plenty of oversight, but he empowers department leaders to be successful and rewards them, and to the point that nobody wants to go anywhere else. We're well taken care of. Evan's a wonderful person to work for, and it's just there's no reason to go looking anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's just retention is because of Evan's philosophy in business.
Yeah. Very good. David, I wanted to ask you in terms of how the dealership is split in terms of business, what percent of um, the business is on the service side of things versus on, vehicle
Now,
sales and that type of stuff.
well, it's amazing that our vehicle sales and our parts and accessory department are about neck and neck in
Okay.
profitability.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good departments putting a fair amount to our bottom line. Service is right behind them, and I know a lot of times service is the bread and butter, uh, but we 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 have a different philosophy of service. Is our level of service is paramount to customers returning, and if we don't go above and beyond to retain them, we'll look around and they'll all be gone.
Mhm.
To the point where there's some dealers nearby that won't work on a motorcycle past 10 years, and that's just something that's just we couldn't imagine turning away somebody regardless of the age of the bike or condition. It just demands a shrewd management of that job.
Yeah.
It's very easy on these older motorcycles to get on the wrong side of an estimate, or to not be on top of it and really segment each job and control each job to where both sides are in agreement, so that there's not a misunderstanding at the end. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges in service. I'm sure every service manager would agree. But we're restoring 3 or 4 different motorcycles in the back, starting from the mid 1930s to 19. Gosh, we just disassembled a 1992 R100S down to the frame to have powder coated, and it will be a full restoration on that motorcycle.
Yeah.
So it's something that it's always fun to jokingly say to a customer that hey, with our time and your money, sir, we can do anything, and we can, and we're happy to.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And David, along those lines, we like to ask if, whether it's yourself or maybe your service manager, is there a specific, shop tip or trick that maybe you'd be willing to share that saved you guys some time or made you more efficient on a certain job or something along
Uh,
those lines?
oh gosh, there's so many of them. Again, working with the team that you have, having meetings, for instance, you're always going to run into a bike nobody could figure out. So if we got a little bit of time into it, we can't figure it out, we stop. We get all the techs around it. We all, start brainstorming on this one bike, and sure enough, something happens, something moves the right direction, and we can figure it out. Rather than having all the mechanics working in their bays and they're worried about their own little situation. We have a pay plan that promotes working together, and that's probably the biggest part of it. And but gosh, we've had so many smart technicians. Two examples. The old R1200 clutches are in the middle of the motorcycle, and the instructions to take it apart was you split the motorcycle in half, put a clutch in, and put the bike back together. Well, one of the techs said, all the wires are running up one side of the frame. I could just unbolt it and slide the frame over with everything connected, including the rear wheel, do a clutch and put it in, and reduce an 8-hour job down to about 3.5
Yeah,
hours. And we had done that for several years. And at one point, a BMW service guy came by and he goes, "Hey, I wanted to share something with you guys. If you're ever doing a clutch, you ought to try this." And we go, "Yeah, we've been doing that for about 5 years now."
yeah,
That's one of them. Another one was there was an issue with one of the bikes where there was a crankshaft bearing that had to be replaced. And the job was to remove the whole engine from the bike, put it on an engine stand, flip it over, and work on these crankshaft bearings. Well, one very smart technician, Mr. Robert Coverly, Bo, just a neat guy, very, very smart. And he looked at that and he goes, "Well, the only reason to flip it upside down is so that this shaft didn't move and this shaft didn't move." He went and made a couple of holders and held those shafts, drops the belly pan, lays on his back, does the bearing. One of those things where, it's a job this big, he reduced it down to about this much.
yeah,
Then we got all that time income that
yeah,
because of his ingenuity with thinking outside of the box. So
yeah,
that's just a couple of many, many, many things over the years that our technicians have come up with.
yeah. No, that's excellent. That's exactly what I was hoping you might be able to share. And
Yeah.
smart people smarter than me for sure. So
Yeah.
very cool. David, I wanted to dive into, again, you guys do a lot of business on both, the vehicle sales side of stuff, but as well as service, like we just mentioned. Do you guys utilize different software or DMS at all to kind of help
Yes.
with all
Gosh,
of
we've
that?
been with Lightspeed dealer management system since Unix
Okay.
format, and then we've gone through all the changes, and we're currently on the Lightspeed Evo system. We have the full package, the whole thing with accounting, service scheduling, everything that Lightspeed offers. We jump in with both feet, and we appreciate their ability to help us manage our business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely makes life a little easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember, gosh, month end and year end took quite a while. Now it's click a box, hit a button, walk out of the office. So
There you
it's
go.
it's it's pretty handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, just looking at the industry as a whole, or certainly, the segments you guys serve and within BMW, are there certain trends that you're seeing in the marketplace? Whether that's specifically with vehicles or specifically with some of the gear or parts that people are
Yeah.
gravitating towards.
Yeah, as I've been fortunate enough because I started in the parts department and then as a parts manager and luckily moved over into general managing. But the we've seen so many changes. It's like a wave that goes through your business over the years. And at some point you're all about track stuff, and then another time you're all about cruiser bikes and touring bikes. But the probably the biggest trend is of course the adventure bike segment, and that's something we're proud to support. And seeing the age of the average rider increasing, and there's not as many new riders coming into the sport. A lot of us, regular guys that are my age with a gray beard, are looking for something a little bit different. And rather than plowing through the Mojave Desert at warp speed over 10 miles of sand whoops, we'd rather go down a dirt road and set up camp and have a cup of coffee or something like that. So there's a big market in the adventure bike world, and we appreciate every manufacturer kind of increasing that. We love that Harley came into the fold. Suzuki, Yamaha with that Tenere 700. All these additions or improvements to the adventure bike world brings more people in looking for climb gear, looking for that Arai XD4 helmet. And gosh darn if they don't trip into a GS and kind of start looking at that too. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things we welcome. It makes the room much bigger when more manufacturers are joining, and we get to show them what we do. And whether we're selling a climb jacket to that Harley Pan America rider, um, they may or may not come back to buy a BMW, but they're certainly coming back to you because you have all the right gear,
Yeah.
because you're that BMW dealer. And frankly, BMW created the adventure bike segment, and we've been in it for such a long time. We're really good at it. So we kind of get to be known as that go-to place for all the right gear in the adventure segment.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. David, I'll leave you with one final question here, just forward thinking. And obviously, again, at Irv Seaver, you guys have recently done a bunch of new things, and it's been paying off. But
Yeah.
just the next couple of years potentially look like for the dealership? Do you guys have any additional plans or additional things that kind of on the docket to try out at the dealership?
Yeah, of all things, our main showroom, it's due for another remodel. So the current corporate identity with BMW showrooms has been around for about 10 years, and that's about the time that we need to change. So yes, I'm working with BMW now to redesign our traditional showroom. Since our heritage showroom is perfect, we're not going to touch that. We need to remodel our current one, and there's a new corporate identity. There's a new dealer showroom models that are coming out in the next year or two, and we've been asked to be one of the first to introduce that. And it's nice because BMW dealer development is so great to work with. Our growing pains with our parts and accessory department has become such a profitable center. We've grown in square footage in our traditional showrooms, so they're really helping us and working with us to not say, hey, we don't want you selling all that stuff, only sell our stuff, because they want us to be successful.
Yeah.
They're happy to work with us to move things around to where it works well with everybody. So again, we're just tickled pink to be partners with BMW Motorrad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, David, glad to hear that things are going well over there at Irv Seaver Motorcycles, going on 110 plus years,
Yeah,
still thriving.
yeah,
And really appreciate you giving me some of your time today to chat.
yes, sir.
Again, appreciate all of you guys out there for watching this episode of Dealer Dialogue. Make sure you're checking out everything that David has going on and the other folks there at Irv Seaver Motorcycles. And as always, make sure you're checking out Motorcycle and Powersports News for more motorcycle and powersports content.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Ride safe.